Gojo wasn't lying when he said the special grade ranking is going to be obsolete, because the next generation of sorcerers are so powerful that they have reached above it. Gojo realized that it was not enough for him alone to be strong. Thus, in order to change Jujutsu society from the root, he began training sorcerers who could reach his power level or surpass it. Given that Kinjaku claimed a special grade is someone capable of wiping out a nation with one hand behind their back, we start to understand the monsters Gojo has created, just like the manga and Shoko claim them to be. We have 7 sorcerers who deserve this title, starting with the one who broke free of curse energy, and Sukuna acknowledged, Maki Zenin. Even though she was certified as a grade 4 sorcerer, her real skills were way beyond this low ranking grade. Maki was recommended to be semi-grade 1 by Meimei and Todo, with Gojo agreeing, but due to corruption, it never occurred. However, her life completely changed in chapter 149. Since she was born with heavenly restriction, Maki could only achieve her full potential if her twin died. So, when their father threw them into a pit full of cursed spirits, Mai gave up on her life in order to stop holding Maki back and left her with the soul-slashing katana. It can cut through anything, regardless of its hardness, and directly impacts the soul. We see this occur against Sukuna, where he admits that his healing slowed down and he must manually pump his heart. This sword can exorcise any curse, even though she possesses no curse energy. Hence, Maki unleashed her hidden power, which makes her father Ogi have flashbacks to Doji, who was also known as the Sorcerer Killer, and the Zenin clan only survived on his whim, as he was capable of destroying them all. But Maki said, okay, I'll do it then. Let's annihilate the entire Zenin clan. In these few minutes, Maki took out multiple grade 1 and higher sorcerers like Jinichi. Even the 2 special combat squads didn't stand a chance. All the formidable techniques of the Zenin members were not enough, such as the giant stone hands attack, which should have broken her bones, or a paralysis technique which was meaningless in front of her brute strength and the sheer determination to break free. So essentially, by chapter 151, Maki gained a body of steel that could take insane amount of damage without collapsing. Even before Maki's awakening, she tanked Jogo's fire, which was around 1200 to 1250 Celsius. This burnt grade 1s like Nanami or Nabito crispy like fried chicken.
It's chicken. It's fried chicken. I like fried chicken.
But she survived. And if Toji could tank a red from Gojo, which outputs twice as much energy as blue, and completely survive A-OK, what would these puny attacks do in comparison? Her special grade status is made even more evident in her fight with Naoya. They clashed head to head, and despite him having the broken projection technique, which allowed Naobito, the previous clan head, be the fastest sorcerer alive after Gojo, Naoya took it one notch higher by moving at subsonic speed, but the trick to this technique was all but seen by Maki. The illusion of speed only happened because normal sorcerers just couldn't move or sense the actions. However, in chapter 151, Maki could finally not just see Naoya moving at his top speed, but she could also keep up with him. But the worst of Naoya was yet to come, as he turned into a vengeful cursed spirit. His highest speed drastically increased from subsonic to Mach 3, which meant now he was moving at thrice the speed of sound itself, around 3,700 kilometers per hour, which now explains why Toji and Maki could basically run on water and eventually air itself, just like Sukuna. However, even though the manga declared that Maki scaled equal to Toji in terms of physical strength, it wasn't until chapter 196 and further that her other stats such as speed, durability, and technique upgraded to a superhuman level. This is because Maki had a lot of mental blockers she needed to overcome to break through all her power limiters. And that's when Mio approached her with a simple sumo fight, doing a complete training montage. This allowed her to become the most powerful version of herself, who could finally see all that was going on. This new version of Maki could kick Naoya's ass because she could sense every change in the atmosphere around her, including the most minimal difference in movement, heat, and even the souls of inorganic matter, basically allowing her to see at a molecular level, allowing her to dodge every possible attack. Her reflexes scaled to a special grade level because she finally understood the feeling of seeing everything all at once. Maki's counterattack even broke through Naoya's armor, which is even more durable than Hanami's. This feat already places her among some of the strongest characters in raw hand-to-hand combat and durability, because according to the official fan book, Hanami's durability scales higher than Jogo, a cursed spirit who was equal to 8 fingers of Sukuna. She became absolutely broken, just as Toji Fushiguro was, and more. For example, Toji beat an unawakened Gojo whom couldn't keep up, and then he no-dived Geto, killing his rainbow dragon that supposedly had the hardest skin. Even Dagon was a disaster cursed special grade whom got utterly destroyed due to being outpowered, outsped, and outstrategized. Now, although Maki and Toji don't have reverse curse technique, she is capable of healing internal damage in 5 minutes, which is no wonder she got back up once Sukuna black flashed her. Oh, wait, what? Actually, that sounds kind of wrong. What did I just say?
Yeah, boy.
Okay, but what about against domain expansions? Well, Naoya unleashed his domain, but Maki's heavenly restriction revealed something OP. Maki has 0 curse energy, which means the rules of Jujutsu governing domains consider her to be same as an inanimate object like a building. This implies that she cannot be trapped in a domain unless either of the 2 conditions are fulfilled. Number 1, the domain expansion itself uses a physical barrier, like Megami used a gymnasium to trap Reggie in chapter 170. The second is Maki agreeing to the rules of the domain and enters it. An example being Toji back in chapter 73, where he willingly answered the cursed spirit's question to break free. This alone makes Maki have one of the best defensive feats in the series, because domains are the master stroke of any sorcerer with a guaranteed hit. So she beat Naoya, but it's her clashes with Sukuna that truly make her title of special grade confirmed. In chapter 213, Sukuna tried to kill off Maki with a kaiju type Nue, only for Maki to end it with ease and enter his battle with Yuji. Since Nue completely failed to even scratch Maki, Sukuna admitted that she could not be killed sloppily. In fact, he had even failed to notice her presence near him, which shows how OP she is, because even Gojo sensed Toji's presence when he was a kid. Hence, Maki went for a hand-to-hand combat against Sukuna, keeping up with his 15 fingers, but he was being held back by Megami. However, given the fact that Megami already compared Toji's casual speed to 3-finger Sukuna, and his power increases exponentially with each one, it's astounding that Maki kept up with his Heian era form. The gang needed a surprise attack, and Maki joined the fray by stepping into action as soon as Yuta's domain stops. She instantly stabs Sukuna with the soul-splitting katana, showcasing that she had grown even stronger in the 1-month time skip, just like the other sorcerers. Even when Sukuna tried to grab the sword, he gets overpowered by her strength, only to be met with the world-cutting slash. But This attack failed because Maki dodged the most powerful attack in the entire series. The speed needed to dodge the slash is ridiculous, which impressed Sukuna to a massive extent, as he declared that Maki could see his technique better than any other sorcerer. He even compared fighting Maki to feeling the same as going against Mahoraga in the Shibuya incident, telling us that she's able to do something other sorcerers can't. Sukuna hit her with multiple black flashes, and she survived, which wouldn't be possible for a regular person. So if getting acknowledged from the king himself isn't proof that Maki is special grade, I don't know what will. Speaking of being physically gifted, we have to mention Yuji. By chapter 260, Yuji can easily kill Jogo, who is equal to 8 Sukuna fingers in only a few punches. Don't believe me? Well, the author claimed in the Shibuya incident that 5 black flashes with the help of Todo would kill the special grade curse instantly. However, since that time, Yuji has gotten even stronger, making his power level multiple times higher than it was. For example, a 15-finger Sukuna claimed he would join the disaster curses if Jogo could land even one single attack on him, which he couldn't. But we have already seen Yuji land 7 black flashes in a row on Sukuna's Heian Era form, which means all his stats have already put the disaster curses in the dust. To prove that Yuji can now casually kill them all and has reached special grade, let's break down the story that led to Yuji's evolution in strength. After Shibuya, Choso claimed that Yuji's curse energy refinement had leveled up to a demon god. This linked to his potential being unlocked even further against Mahito when he did 4 consecutive black flashes. Like, did you know in volume 15's extra, Gege informs us that Mahito's true form is 200% more powerful than his normal state, which is insane since Yuji still killed him within 1 black flash that he put all his might into. If you didn't know that, please smash the like button and subscribe, because this information skyrockets his scaling to the roof, as arguably none of the other characters at this point of the story would have defeated and awakened Mahito. On top of that, Mahito, just like Sukuna, backs up the claim from chapter 249 that Yuji's soul is unbreakable. He was stated to only have 10% of soul strength left compared to Mahito's 40%. Yet, he still came out victorious. But speaking of easy dubs, once the culling game began, Yuji destroyed Amai, who had a jet engine. In chapter 161, she slammed right into Yuji at Mark 3 speed into multiple buildings, but he had no damage, declaring that Yuji is tough since that attack would have made most people into mincemeat. Eventually, all he had to do was throw a rock at her with curse energy to win the fight, and then she just punched her boyfriend twice and it was over. This eventually led to Higuruma complimenting Yuji for his immense strength, just like all the other characters thus far. Keep in mind, Yuji was fighting him without curse energy, despite Higuruma being equal to a grade 1 like Nanami at this point in the story, where he admits to using everything he had to start overpowering our MC. However, everything later on pretty much confirmed Yuji's special grade status with the others, as he kept up with Maki's speed at Mark 3 to fight Sukuna, and then tanked a full powered punch to the stomach without even getting knocked out. He gets up to showcase his overwhelming strength that the king had noticed, and then proceeds to laugh at him. But that would be the last laugh. During the 1-month time skip, Sukuna confirmed that every single sorcerer upgraded their curse energy refinement to such a degree that together they can land attacks. This is a multiple power level increase, as later in chapter 250 he confirms once again that all the sorcerers have shown up with extremely tight defenses, where they can take on his slashes if they are not a direct hit. But Yuji's strength increase is a step further. By consuming his remaining brothers, he gained the technique of blood manipulation, which he then trained with Choso and Narutoshi Kama on how to use it. This allowed him to explode blood on Sukuna's face and shoot a point-blank piercing blood. But I'm only just getting started on his new special abilities. Using Ui's soul transfer technique, he swapped with Kusakabe and Yuta. This would accelerate the learning process as the memories and muscles in that person's body are transferred to each other. With Kusakabe, he improved his curse energy control and learned simple domain, which let Yuji survive the malevolent shrine. The second person was Yuta, as Rika ate a finger, so they practiced using shrine, which Yuta then used in battle. However, once awakened, Yuji gained this for himself, which now gives him 2 techniques. Now, that wasn't the only reason to swap with Yuta, as Yuji then mastered one of the most rare abilities of all, reverse curse technique. He is capable of regenerating limbs in an instant, which Ryu claimed was one hell of a feat for a sorcerer to even achieve. But the cherry on top is that Yuji survived 4 point-blank slash attacks from Sukuna that should have killed him, yet using RCT proficiently allowed him to push forward. Any other person would be mincemeat into several pieces, let's be honest. This leads me to the moment of breaking the Black Flash record. As we know, he's blessed by the spark of black. It's a 1 in a million chance, but he does it so often that it looks like he does it at will, which even pissed off Sukuna that Yuji is trying to match his power. Yuji gets so determined to kill Sukuna that he enters the zone. 7 consecutive black flashes broke Nanami and Gojo's record, but a total of 8 occurs with the help of Todo. Like, remember, these are not even normal punches, as Yuji has a special property that no ordinary sorcerer has. Yuji can see the contours of the soul, which means his punches directly impact them. This leads to Sukuna losing control of his body and diminishing his curse energy output, allowing for everyone to keep fighting on, just as Choso claimed in chapter 256. Soul punches are more effective than you think, because even after Sukuna entered the zone himself and performed 4 black flashes, he wasn't able to heal himself. But this is the king of curses we're talking about here. Obviously, an ordinary person would be knocked out instantly with their souls leaving their body if Yuji fought them. So let's add some evidence that Yuji can beat the disaster curses. Firstly, Jogo's maximum meteor was dodged by the likes of Kusakabe and Panda, even though they ran at the very last second, which means it's way too slow. Yuji's simple domain tanked Sukuna's malevolent shrine for 60 seconds or so. This is the most refined and powerful domain that equally matches Unlimited Void, stated in chapter 225. And as Gojo stated, the best counter to domain is to cast your own domain in a battle, where as soon as he used his one against Jogo early in the series, it outmatched it instantly where he would have died. So Yuji's simple domain is scaling way higher than you think for him to maintain it for that long, as he learned it from the best, Kusakabe after all, who can even weaken Sukuna's slashes and deflect them in his simple domain. Jogo even admitted he won't even open domain expansion against a 15-finger Sukuna because he knows he will lose. On top of that, Yuji didn't even fry to death when he was in his domain, where Jogo claimed an average sorcerer would instantly burn to death. Mind you, pre-awakened Maki tanked his fire attack to survive. And as you can tell by this point of the video, Yuji is multiple times more durable than that. Kenjaku also confirmed that Mahito surpassed Jogo since he evolved, and he expected Jogo to do so as well, but he never did. Jogo never hit his full potential. So even though the manga claims Jogo is the fastest and strongest out of the disaster curses, he is simply way too weak to face the monsters Gojo has created at this point. The fact remains that Yuji outmaneuvered Sukuna's Heian-era 20-finger form in combat when he was awakened. He matched his speed and has some of the best defensive feats amongst the sorcerers. There is no way he isn't a special grade. Even Sukuna himself admits that Yuji is unfazed by his slashes and punches once he was awakened. On top of that, he is still going to master Shrine, Blood Manipulation, RCT, and then Domain Expansion to completely become the strongest of all time. This is proven with Kusakabe claiming he has excellent learning speed and Jujutsu understanding since Sukuna lived inside him, so he has a special grade property within him. Even Uraume implies the same thing, that within Yuji lies latent potential equal to the king. Bringing me to the most infamous student, Hakari is a beast when it comes to curse energy and his technique. His strength has been foreshadowed right from chapter 11 itself, when Satoru freaking Gojo himself attested Hakari had a bright future. Chapter 157 gave us a glimpse because Hakari landed a barrage of punches on Yuji, which hurt him to an extreme level, regardless of how much or how little strength the senpai put into them. Itadori felt like Hakari was hitting him with a baseball bat, with a saw-like edge instead of punches. This alone is a massive nod to Hakari's strength, because Yuji is one of the most durable characters in the series, so for him to feel the brunt of Hakari's punches meant there was some huge secret. And it didn't take Hakari too long to let the cat out of the bag, as the key was his curse energy. According to Gojo, Hakari's energy had an edge that was making his punches seem so harsh, because Yuji could handle the physical strength but not the curse energy hitting him. Even Bernard wondered how Hakari's curse energy felt rough and hurt him like sandpaper. This fact definitely makes Hakari much stronger in one-on-one battles, as he's also very agile. Hakari's entire fight against Bernard, the manga artist, was proof of how he is excellent when it comes to physical capabilities. Firstly, this artist had the power to glimpse into the future, which would have been a massive problem for an average sorcerer. However, it didn't take Hakari too long to find a way out of Bernard's ability, and that was to attack from his blind spots. To do this, Hakari moved around Bernard swiftly enough that he lost sight of him and took a massive punch to the stomach. But all this aside, it is actually Hakari's domain that makes him absolutely OP, and the reason why he is special grade. In short, this domain makes him nearly invincible. It's so powerful that it becomes evident why Yuta considers Hakari stronger than him when he's fired up. So, how does it work? Hakari's domain expansion, called Idle Death Gamble, is based on the pachinko system. It operates on probability, with even Hakari himself uncertain if he will hit a jackpot. Now, unlike other domains, its guaranteed hit is harmless yet effective, as all rules are revealed to the enemy upon entry. Idle Death Gamble features 7 characters representing 7 numbers. The objective is to hit a jackpot by aligning 3 identical characters, similar to a lottery machine. When Hakari hits the jackpot, he gains 2 overwhelming advantages. First, his body is replenished with any lost curse energy, but more importantly, for the next 4 minutes and 11 seconds, he has infinite curse energy flow, allowing him to subconsciously use the reverse curse technique to heal even fatal wounds instantly. This was shown to us in chapters 186 and 188. He can also subconsciously use reverse curse technique even though he has never learnt it. This heals even fatal wounds like an arm, losing half his face, and even a freaking hole in his stomach. Running on automatic RCT allows him to nullify toxic gases and poison, just like in chapter 189. which is usually very difficult for somebody who uses RCT consciously. Second, each jackpot increases the probability of hitting another one, which means that as long as he keeps hitting them, he can continuously use his domain even within the same battle. So let's take Gojo as an example. He had a limit of doing 5 domain expansions consecutively before his brain fried. Hakari, on the other hand, can do an unlimited amount of domains in a row if jackpot occurs, thus surpassing Sukuna himself, who had to do binding vows and use the other half of his brain to keep going. What truly makes this domain dangerous is that Hakari is unkillable. The fact that he stored Uraume since chapter 238 to the very end is amazing. During the Shibuya incident, Uraume was able to incapacitate over half of the sorcerers with ease, even putting their lives in danger by being able to freeze them to death until Yuki arrived to save the day. She did this again in chapter 215 against an awakened Maki, stopping her from fighting, but its true potential was shown against Hakari himself. Uraume froze his arm and leg to destroy them instantly, but realized something really huge. She claimed that sorcerers of the modern era maintain their humanity, which holds them back. But Hakari over here? He shouldn't be treated as a human. Instead, she must use her full power, which entirely puts into context why Yuta would say he thinks Hakari may be stronger than him when he's high. Think about it. Sukuna has been fighting countless battles, including domain expansion that lasted 99 seconds and more. For Hakari to stall a special grade from the Golden Age for 10 minutes or longer, it's a feat in itself. We learn his healing factor is better than Gojo and Sukuna, which is insane considering that Gojo tanked Malevolent Shrine on purpose and only had shallow wounds. On the other hand, people like Yuji were losing limbs. This puts Hakari above anything we imagine, since he would lose body parts, but that wouldn't even matter in his domain expansion. On top of that, Kashimo confirmed that due to unlimited curse energy and each consecutive jackpot, Hakari's speed, power, and everything else keeps increasing. So defeating Kashimo in the culling game earns him a lot of merit, as he's one of the most powerful sorcerers Kenjaku ever encountered in 1000 years. Although he was saving his one-time technique for Sukuna, Kashimo admits running out of curse energy and loses. But another sorcerer who has joined the Special Grade Club is Higuruma. Even Sukuna himself acknowledged him by name and was fascinated with his potential, claiming it matches not only Gojo's but his own. Higuruma's potential is showcased as early as chapter 164. Within 12 days of gaining curse energy, he was already comparable to a grade 1 sorcerer like Nanami or Meimei. He faced Yuji without curse energy, where he claimed Higuruma was powerful and was being utterly destroyed. This is a post-Shibuya Yuji, whom is stronger than when Megami stated he is capable of destroying both schools at once without curse energy. Also, according to the author, a grade 1 is capable of killing special grade curse spirits. This led to Higuruma defeating multiple and killing over 20 culling game players on his own during a day at the Tokyo colony in the culling games. In fact, within those few days, he figured out the details of Jujutsu in such extreme detail without a teacher that he learned the most advanced form of Jujutsu, which is
領域展開
He did this by reverse engineering how casting barriers work in order to master control of curse energy, which even garnered the attention of Kenjaku, who claimed Higuruma was the only player he was interested in. This is because within 2 months, he also unlocked domain amplification by simply observing Gojo in the fight against Sukuna. Keep in mind, that's the most advanced form of nullification. Even Naobito was using something like Falling Blossom Emotion, or others having simple domains with Binding Vow. The disaster curses are all special grades, equal to numerous Sukuna fingers. So it's a no-brainer no-brainer as to how insane this is. My guy learned to pause amplification and control it so that the executioner's sword would not disappear. This made Sukuna acknowledge that Higuruma wielded his technique almost as effectively as him. Another reason he was special grade was his genius intellect, allowing him to learn reverse curse technique on the spot when the king forced him to regenerate an arm and leg. This is another feat equal to Satoru freaking Gojo, who learnt it on the verge of death against Toji. But let's get to arguably one of the best domain expansions, as it guarantees death if you are found guilty. Confiscation disallows the use of curse techniques or curse energy depending on the target. However, Higuruma's inexperience caused him to overlook one of the rules, as it prioritizes curse tools, which made it confiscate Sukuna's Kumatake tool instead of his technique, jeopardizing their plan. But they still have the death penalty, which grants the executioner's sword that could kill the likes of Sukuna or even Gojo in one hit. Anyone, and I mean anyone, cut by it immediately dies. It can be given to others to utilize whilst in battle. So imagine if Gojo was given it in a fight. It would be over in 0.2 seconds thanks to his instant teleportation. Even though Higuruma reached Gojo's level in some areas, his lack of experience due to only being a sorcerer for 2 months is what stopped him from becoming the most powerful of all. If given time, his power, speed, and endurance would be even greater to reach a degree where no one will be able to dodge a single hit from the executioner blade. However, next up is someone opposite to Higuruma's serious nature. In fact, he's a complete joke. Takaba. When the story claimed his power rivals Satoru Gojo, they weren't lying. Takaba can do the impossible just like the strongest. He survived numerous bombings from Hazinoki and healed from the injuries he suffered without a reverse curse technique. But he's also capable of saving people's lives. We learned Takaba being nearby saved Angel, which resulted in Hana learning the truth about his curse technique. He also saved Megami's life in chapter 169, where Reggie stated his curse energy increased dramatically, the shift in its output being massive enough to outspeed them and win the battle. This is where they declared Takaba as strong, where by the end, Megami claimed he was glad Takaba isn't their enemy. But you know who isn't glad? Kenjaku. Comedian is a reality-breaking power, which made him admit he could lose. Takaba's technique makes anything he considers funny become a reality. So let's say he thinks Kenjaku turning into a cat is hilarious, he can make that happen. But the materialization of imagination isn't limited to his own thoughts. Kenjaku realized it could also impact the opponent's mind, where even he didn't realize what he was saying when complimenting Takaba on his sorry. In fact, Comedian has soul resonance. This means the soul of the opponent is being affected by the external force of it, which is more insane than you think, as he could take on opponents like Mahito and Sukuna, who would have trouble against Comedian since the soul cannot be protected. Plus, it's a major boost in points for Takaba to reach special grade, since it is a lot harder to directly attack the soul for regular sorcerers and is a rare ability. His curse technique is so overpowered that Kenjaku's special grade spirits have no effect on him and are defeated instantly, like in chapter 242. These are feats equal to other monsters such as Yuki, who killed the Asian deity, and even Gojo. Keep in mind, the smallpox deity's special grade in chapter 101 put Meimei's life in danger, and then she required help. She's a grade 1, and Gojo stated she's strong. However, as you can tell by this point in the video, Gojo's compliments would be given to all of these guys, because in chapter 239, we see Kenjaku feeling something he has never had before in 1000 years. His attack was forced not to work and nullified, meaning all his experience was meaningless. Takaba forces his opponents to play by his rules, but Kenjaku realizes the only way their fight would end is if he agrees to do Manzai with Takaba. The events are simulations, but all the damage dealt to him will accumulate steadily, whilst Takaba takes no damage from anything, which means even Sukuna's cleave and dismantle would not affect Takaba, whilst his comedian technique is active. This is huge coming from Kenjaku because this guy tanked an entire black hole and called it a warmer, whilst Takaba has officially lasted longer than Yuki, who was a special grade. Now, unfortunately, Takaba limits his power. He could destroy Kenjaku by saying something like, "It would be funny if he died," but his entire goal here is to make Kenjaku laugh instead. After all, comedian activates if Takaba's confidence and conviction are high in his jokes. This resulted in Kenjaku using facts and logic to break his spirit, which resulted in Takaba taking damage. Plus, in chapter 240, after seeing a dead body, his core was shaken and he lost his power. However, even though Kenjaku set up detectives to find Yuta, Takaba wanted no interruptions during their fight, which blocked off his thoughts and curse energy detection of others. Takaba doesn't kill, which is why Yuta stepped in. But based on this one fight alone, Takaba is clearly above the special grade ranking. Which brings me to someone that didn't show up for a while but came back overpowered. In chapter 132, when Mahito hit Todo with idol transfiguration, we thought his career was over. I mean, Todo himself said Boogie Boogie was dead, and Gege pretty much forgot to bring Yuji's besto friendo back for 3 whole years. But now, his comeback in chapter 259 is generational.
Long time no see. You're alive. I'm alive, he says.
It was revealed that this was all part of the sorcerer team's plan to gain an advantage in battle against Sukuna, because Todo's Boogie Woogie was far from done and dusted. With his 530,000 IQ, Todo not only brought it back, but also made it so OP that it instantly had Sukuna quaking in his boots. After all, this thing, called the Vibra Slap, is what makes Todo a special grade sorcerer.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Let me explain. Previously, Todo's Boogie Woogie technique required a clap to swap anything infused with curse energy, allowing only a single swap at a time. The technique's effectiveness was primarily due to Todo's extraordinary creativity and high IQ despite its limited range. However, Todo has now changed the trigger to be the collision of metal pieces and a wooden box. Just imagine how often the beads in a shaker collide, and now envision Todo using Boogie Woogie with each sound, which means he can now use his curse technique 50 times per second. To put it into perspective, even special grade curses like Hanami or Mahito couldn't keep up with the basic version of Boogie Woogie, which tells us that this upgrade is a nightmare. So thanks to the Vibra Slap, Todo formed a roulette of sorts by swapping himself, Yuji and Sukuna as they continuously switch places. It is literally impossible to keep track whilst fighting off attacks, even for Sukuna himself. Although this technique isn't offensive, the fact that it's so hard to keep up with makes Sukuna comment that this was the worst time for Todo to show up, because he is very self-centered, as it is extremely hard to destabilize his pace in a fight. Now, at this point of the video, you've probably can tell by now, the power scaling of Jujutsu Kaisen is so insane, because landing a single attack on 20-finger Heianera Sukuna already puts you at the upper echelons. Even at 15 fingers, no one dares to move an inch against him. Hell, even Jogo couldn't hit a single punch. But Todo trained just like everyone else to boost his stats within the 1 month time skip, which allowed him to land a huge kick to Sukuna Sukuna's face, and more. This is all achieved through his upgraded technique. When Sukuna tried to blast everyone in his furnace, Todo was capable of rescuing everyone. He could expand the range of his technique and replace all sorcerers inside Sukuna's domain with Mei's crows. Vibra Slap causes hundreds of collisions every time Todo strikes the wooden bank. He could theoretically perform just as many swaps per second. However, he limited this to only 50 to create a binding vow that traded the higher number of swaps for a larger range and the ability to target multiple individuals. So, despite Furnace's massive fire blast in the Malevolent Shrine, Todo expanded his technique to cover the area and made such a huge substitution without Sukuna even noticing. Beforehand, as a grade 1, Todo fought against 5 grade 1 cursed spirits and a special grade all at the same time, but only uses his technique against special grade cursed spirits. Mind you, he beat all of them at the same time and was even strong enough to hurt Hanami, whose defense scaled the highest out of the disaster curses. He can also do Black Flash to an extent which unleashes 120% of his potential, which means he's more proficient at it than others, and can also deal with domain expansions since he has simple domain just like the others. But now he's facing the strongest of all time, where the power, speed and defense is not a problem for him to have a role in the fight, unlike an actual grade 1 such as Ino, who he puts himself. This is way out of my league. For someone on my level, I think I did a pretty good job. So there's no doubt that along with Todo's physical strength, knowledge of curse energy and high IQ, the updated version of Boogie Woogie is the best support to have. Speaking of support, we cannot overlook Yuta, the second MC, and the one who became Satoru freaking Gojo. Yuta was made a special grade as soon as his career began, and the reason for this was Rika. Gojo gave Yuta his iconic katana, as it acted as a suitable vessel to help stabilize such ridiculous power, where he even achieved the Black Flash. However, Rika is a bit of everything for Yuta. Not only is she a formidably strong cursed spirit, so much so that Geto stated his plans of succeeding to eradicate monkeys would be raised from 20 to 30% all the way up to 99% should he get his hands on Rika, meaning she was so strong it was worth initiating an entire war. This is later confirmed when Yuta stated that Rika was an absolute necessity to deal with Kenjaku's rampaging cursed spirit outbreak, even if it was on the level of Shibuya, which released 10 million spirits. So no wonder she has the rank of queen, as that number is just so mind-boggling to even comprehend. Another reason why Satoru Gojo thinks the rating system is pointless is because the evolution and power of curses have rapidly increased in recent times. This is due to Sukuna's fingers resurfacing, his birth that disrupted the balance, and other things such as the modern society producing more negative energy. But you see, even though that's the case, Yuta, just like the others on the list I've explained so far, demolished special grades with ease. And before his introduction in Shibuya, we are told by Maki that Yuta attended the Goodwill event the year prior to Yuji, and in that event, Yuta won by a landslide, apparently a one-sided affair. Eventually, Yuta returns in chapter 142, and it was insane, as he killed Yuji and defeated Choso with a single punch without having to use his copy technique or full power. Yuji admits that although he will reinforce his physically gifted body with curse energy, making it like steel, Yuta will make him mince meat, and Rika is far too strong for him to even move. This is crazy, because this is before the multiple power-ups that occur for every sorcerer, as later on, Sukuna opted to grab Yuta's sword with a series of slashes, opposed to actively holding it, knowing what it could achieve and the damage it could do. And then we saw him decapitate Kenjaku in a single blow. Like, I don't think people realize how overpowered that is. We have to keep in mind that people on this caliber have such reinforced curse energy that piercing their body would require a lot of strength equal to a special grade. In chapter 203, Kenjaku states that even low-grade curse spirits being enhanced by his curse energy could take out grade 1 sorcerers with ease. Choso's piercing blood, supernova, and more were all a joke for someone on their power level, where Kenjaku straight up tells him the speed and power of that attack is below par to even hurt him. Yet, then comes Yuki with her technique and a single punch that rips off his arm. This puts into perspective even more how strong Maki, Yuji, Yuta, Hikari, and all the others truly are to damage these monsters, and why they are making the ranking system obsolete, as Gojo said. So we move forward where we witness Yuta kill special grades in chapter 175 without breaking a sweat. The main reason for this is that Yuta has extremely high curse energy reserves, equal to half of Sukuna at 20 fingers, making him have the second most in the entire manga across 1000 years. In fact, Yuta is the most blessed in terms of genetics, being born a descendant of Sugawara no Michizane and the Sugawara clan. This makes Yuta extremely strong, as Gojo confirmed 80% of genetics plays a role in your strength. However, we see a even bigger display of Yuta's beyond special grade abilities during the Culling game. Rika is an arsenal of curse techniques and curse energy for him. In chapter 177, Yuta's opponents noticed that after non-stop RCT and intense fighting, he had taken a lot of damage, and his so-called boundless energy was running out. At this crucial moment, Yuta pulled the ring he had received from Rika Orimoto in their childhood. The ring served as a temporary connection for 5 minutes to her complete form. Before passing away, Rika left her cursed spirit to serve as storage, as well as leaving a will to always protect Yuta. This temporary connection is insane because it completely restores Yuta's lost curse energy and grants him access to a vast number of copied curse techniques. Mind you, he can replicate them without restrictions or even binding vows. All he needs to do is make Rika devour some body part of the person he would like to copy. But the thing is, Yuta can even hone these copy techniques even further and beyond to reach his special grade status, such as not needing a megaphone to use Inomaki's cursed speech in chapter 178. Before, in volume 0, he would use a megaphone. Now we witness in the fight against Ryu, whom has the greatest curse energy output in the Culling game, which even Sukuna acknowledged later on as the highest defense, since he had to touch him to dismantle. But despite that insane output, even Ryu claimed that attacking Yuta is akin to knocking against a massive water tank. He eventually loses due to more copy techniques that outmaneuvered him, which is the perfect time for me to list them, as they are so strong that Sukuna himself struggled. So far, we have seen cursed speech, Shikigami using Grubb's technique, Sky manipulation with the thin icebreaker, Angel's technique nullification and Jacob's ladder, future sight from Bernard, Shrine thanks to eating Sukuna's finger, and then Kenjaku's brain transplant. However, to take Yuta's power level a step further, how can we not mention his domain, as it's a contender for the #1 spot as the absolute best. he gains a limited usage of his copy techniques in a field of katana that will possess them at random. He is unaware of which curse technique is in the katana until he grabs it. But due to training with Gojo in the 1 month time skip confirmed in chapter 262, Yuta achieved a feat higher than his sensei. What's that, you may ask? Well, it's to target a single person in his domain with the sure hit effect of his choice. Against Sukuna, it was Angel's technique to nullify his power and Jacob's ladder, as it ensures that any curse will be extinguished without exception, including a special grade curse object such as Sukuna and the prison realm. It is such a refined and well constructed domain barrier that Sukuna had to complement them and then asked how they did it, where of course Yuta said they cheated as they used Ui's soul swap technique. Yuta's selective domain sure hit effect is even more OP when you realize that even Gojo and Mahito didn't risk doing the same thing, as they believed that a 0.2 domain was more plausible than a domain with a selective sure hit effect. If Gojo could do this, then in Shibuya, he would have just selected the disaster curses for his domain's effect instead of including humans as well. And due to this, Yuta forced Sukuna to cast and maintain Hollow Wilker Basket to fight the domain's barrier constantly, which no other sorcerer can do and even achieve against the strongest of all time. However, we cannot claim that Yuta's beyond special grade without mentioning reverse curse technique. For example, killing Yuji and instantly bringing him back to life casually, especially since Sukuna confirmed that using RCT on others is reduced by 50%, yet Yuta did it with no effort. When we compare Yuta's proficiency with other sorcerers such as Uruume in chapter 135, they don't even come close. Even Gojo doesn't have the ability to heal other people. In chapter 176, Yuta even tanked an entire beam cannon to the face from Ryu, an attack that would practically eradicate any other sorcerer since it's the highest output in the Culling game in history. And just like Gojo, he tanked Sukuna's slashes only to receive shallow cuts to instantly heal them. And also, he's fast enough to react to their speed to counter. I gotta add that too, just to scale him a bit higher, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, just to take his merit way higher, Gojo was unconscious when he received the world reality cutting slash. However, Yuta admitted that the only reason he wasn't in comparison to Gojo was because of Rika, where he then conducted another huge feat of finishing the operation of brain swapping by using RCT at full throttle. I mean, without such proficiency, this final plan to take over Gojo's body would not even be possible, and Yuji choosing to soul swap with Yuta to learn RCT for himself wouldn't have even occurred. Essentially, Yuta is the strongest sorcerer of the present, even though it came at the cost of his humanity. Now, I know what you're gonna ask next. Why isn't Megami on the list, ABD? Well, this dude is the definition of potential man. We can all agree that Megami would easily be a special grade sorcerer if he put in the time and effort. But the fact that the 10 Shadows technique is dead with all the Shikigami gone, and the dude tanked multiple, and I mean multiple unlimited voids to his brain and has lost the will to live, I doubt he even wants to be. The only reason Megami wanted to be a sorcerer in the first place was because of his sister, and now she's dead. Megami doesn't even believe sorcerers are heroes or fights for justice, so there's no reason for him to keep practicing. By the end, curse energy may be gone altogether, since that was Yuki's goal in the first place, which she gave to Yuji Itadori in that research book. Now, to enjoy more peak fiction, why not find out about Rimuru and how he's the strongest anime character probably ever created?